while across the south and west, about a 30% chance of an afternoon shower. Statewide right now, temperatures in pretty good shape. We're looking at around 18 Mason City, 24 in the Fort Dodge area, 32 degrees in Carroll, 31 in both Lamoni and Creston. Cool spot up here around some of these northeastern counties. For Des Moines and central Iowa today, not much to complain about out there. Sunny, very mild, 52 to 55 today. Southwesterly winds at around 5 to 15. Then later on tonight, partly cloudy skies, 30 to 35 degrees. Southeasterly winds at around 5 to 10. And tomorrow, cloudy, a bit cooler with a chance of some light rain by afternoon. High in the lower 40s. Again, our average daytime high for this time of year is 26. So we'll be more than doubling that today.
Oh, well, it's 31 right now, so we're already in good shape. Yeah, that's our report for this morning. Thanks for joining us.
And stay tuned next for CBS This Morning. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Mercy Hospital is a major cancer center with everything needed to treat cancer. The most advanced technology, the most sophisticated techniques, highly talented cancer specialists, everything you'd expect from a leading cancer center. But Mercy also offers something more that's hard to put your finger on, but easy to get your arms around.
Everyone wants to know they got the right car at the right price. Before you buy your next car or truck, ask yourself these 3 questions. Do I like it? Does it fit my needs? Can I afford the payments? This month at Jerry Covington's, the Cavalier. You like it? Does it fit your needs? It's affordable, just $89.95 or $199 per month. And remember, unless this emblem is on your car, you probably paid too much. Hurry into Jerry Covington Chevrolet Geo in Indianola.
Making Ends Meet on TV8, Iowa's news leader.
Good morning. It is Tuesday, January 21st. I'm Harry Smith.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Paula Zahn. Welcome to CBS This Morning.
Making headlines this morning, President Bush's approval rating drops in the latest CBS News poll.
Plus, the latest on breast implants. Despite government warnings, some doctors are still performing the surgery.
And don't open that tuna fish can until you hear consumer correspondent Hattie Kaufman's reports.
Food police here working overtime.
We had runny eggs yesterday. Can it solve that problem a little bit?
Canned tuna, a staple in a lot of homes across the country. What are we going to do?
Not eat anything. I shouldn't even be drinking this coffee this morning.
That is very bad for you. Stick to water. No, but then that has all that stuff in it.
Yeah.
Hattie Kaufman coming up with the answers a little bit later on this morning. Also this morning, the Halcyon controversy. There are charges that the sleeping pills manufacturer hid evidence of potentially serious side effects. Dr. Bob Arnott will be here to sort it all out.
And in our next half hour, America's #1 teen heartthrob. We will meet Luke Perry of Beverly Hills 90210. First, though, let's get to our own heartthrob this morning. Pitter-pat, pitter-pat.
Thank you. Good to be back. So no, I can't eat tuna fish anymore?
Well, no, stop. We'll explain.
Okay, I'm a tuna fish
Jump to any conclusions yet.
Good morning to both of you. Back again. Take a look at the weather while I was gone. Little things happened outside that have actually changed since I came back. Still cold in the northeast. All that weekend southern snow is just a memory. Temperatures are going to be nearing the 60-degree mark. More rain for Texas. I will have all of it coming up.
Spent a little time in the housewares department over the weekend?
Picking china patterns.
The soon-to-be married man?
Yes, indeed.
Glad to have you back. Time to get caught up on the news this morning. A new CBS News poll shows President Bush continuing to lose ground in the view of American voters. Randall Pinkston is at the White House with more on that and with reaction to those new figures. Good morning, Randall.
Good morning, Paula. Administration officials are saying they're not surprised the latest poll results are so bad. Already the spin is out. The problem with the poll results, they say, is public perception, the perception that the president is not handling the economy. The reality, they say, is that Mr. Bush is working on the problem, even as he confronts serious voter discontent.
Mr. President, a new poll shows the Democrat beating you by 7%. Are you worried?
If the president isn't worried, he's certainly not pleased with the lowest poll results since he took office. Of nearly 2,900 adults surveyed, only 45% approve of the way he's handling his job. That's a 3% drop in the past 2 weeks, and it's lower than Reagan and Carter at the same point in their presidencies. Even Mr. Bush's acknowledged foreign policy strength is showing signs of weakness. The approval rating is now 48%, down 11% from our previous poll. That lack of confidence may have been reinforced by the president's most recent foreign mission to Japan, which was billed as an effort to remove trade barriers to U.S. goods. Just yesterday, Japanese officials denied there was an agreement with Mr. Bush to purchase more U.S. cars and auto parts.
Now there was this linkage made between foreign policy and jobs, and I think that probably that linkage did not develop as successfully as the White House might have wanted it to.
Republicans predict there's still time for the president to make good on his promise to produce more jobs for America. Democrats aren't so sure.
He continues to hemorrhage support, and the fight the Democrats have made on behalf of middle-class working families is attracting middle-class and working families.
Bush administration officials say the economy isn't the only problem. There's also the reality of 5 Democrats and 1 Republican beating up on him every day, preparing for the New Hampshire primary. The solution? President Bush will present his economic growth package to Americans and then say it's up to Congress to pass it. Paula?
Randall, I understand there is some dissension among the White House staff on exactly how to confront these declining approval ratings.
Well, the focus of the dissension right now is on the new Chief of Staff, Sam Skinner, and also Richard Darman of the Budget Office. Apparently, Darman is viewed as a freelancer, someone who likes to go his own way, and Skinner is a team player. Darman is saying, Mr. President, the economy is in fairly decent shape, the fundamentals are there, give it some time. Others are saying maybe there's a fundamental problem with the administration's economic policies. Paula?
Randall Pinkston reporting from the White House. Thank you. Cuba has ignored worldwide pleas for clemency by executing one of 3 Cuban-American exiles convicted of attempted terrorism. Eduardo Diaz Betancourt, the man in the middle, died yesterday before a firing squad. The death sentences of 2 other Miami men were commuted to 30 years in prison. The 3 were caught shortly after landing on the Cuban coast last month. French authorities are trying to determine the cause of a plane crash last night in a snowy forest near the city of Strasbourg. Search crews picking through the remains of the Airbus A323 this morning recovered the plane's flight recorders. Last night, rescuers found 9 survivors, including a baby girl who was pulled from the wreckage unharmed. 87 others were killed. Back in this country, ceremonies in Denver marking Martin Luther King Day erupted into violence. Following a peaceful parade yesterday, marchers attacked members of the Ku Klux Klan as they held a rally to call for an end to the King holiday. The fighting was ended by riot police using tear gas. 5 people were hospitalized. The mayor said the riot brought disgrace to Denver and to King's memory. In New York City this morning, jury selection begins in the latest trial of John Gotti, the reputed boss of the nation's most powerful crime family. Giselle Fernandez reports.
When John Gotti goes to trial today, his future and his notorious reputation will be on the line.
We find him not guilty.
The reputed Godfather has won 3 court victories over 4 years, earning him the nickname Teflon Don. But now the government says it is ready to make the charges stick.
It's hard to put a figure 6 to 5, 10 to 1, but it's going to be really difficult for John Gotti to beat this case the way he did the first 3 cases.
Prosecutors will use undercover audio tapes to prove Gotti is a ruthless criminal guilty of ordering the rub-out of his predecessor, Big Polly Castellano, outside a New York City steakhouse.
You tell this punk I meet John Gotti to sever your head off.
Another key weapon, Gotti's right-hand man, Sammy the Bull Gravano, is now a government witness. And the attorney who won him his freedom before has been disqualified and won't be by Gotti's side this time.
Someone like John Gotti, as the stakes get higher and the fight gets more difficult, he gets stronger, more optimistic, and he gets better.
Gotti has been held here without bail for more than a year now. He'll be transported to the federal courthouse in Brooklyn, where a pool of 400 potential jurors will be subjected to a grueling questionnaire. To avoid any jury tampering, those chosen will be sequestered through the duration of the trial, which could last up to 3 months. Giselle Fernandez, CBS News, New York.
In business news this morning, the dollar is trading lower, and the Tokyo, that is, stock market is slightly lower. The Nikkei index dropped 55.5 points, a decline of 0.25%. Wall Street opens with the Dow Industrials at 3254. The Dow lost nearly 11 points yesterday as the market backed away from last week's record highs. In sports news this morning, the Washington Redskins and the Buffalo Bills are in place for Sunday's Super Bowl 26. They arrived in Minneapolis last night. Coach Joe Gibbs led the Redskins, who arrived on time. The players are off today to meet with the media. Full-scale practice begins tomorrow. The Bills, on the other hand, were delayed an hour by cold weather in Buffalo. Leonard Smith, a starting safety, limped off the plane with an infected knee. He is listed as questionable for the game. At their hotels in St. Paul, both sides were satisfied with their preparations.
We had a team that was exceptionally well focused all season long, that did a super job preparing a year ago, and we have one that is doing it as well or better this year, which is why we're back here.
It is fun. You know, you got to enjoy it to some extent, but you also know what we're here for.
Rippon's Redskins are trying to extend an NFC streak of 7 straight Super Bowl wins. That's the news at 8 minutes past the hour. Time to check back in with Mark McEwen, who's back after a long weekend down the West Coast.
Yes, indeed.
Doing a little houseware shopping. I love that.
Crystal,
Mark McEwen, China department.
Silver and China. One of my favorite things to do. Next time my fiance will go check out baseball gloves. That's what we're going to do next. She'll love that. She'll love that. Hi, Judy. Let's talk about the weather. Well, the nation is moderating just a little bit. Macon, Georgia, on this day back in 1985, had a low of -6 degrees, and they're not going to see anything like that today. Temperatures getting up into the 50s in the southeast. They had some snow in the southeast over the weekend, and that is sort of going to be melting. 70 will be the high today in Hollywood, Florida. We're going to put this way up here because there's 2 of them. There we put 2 together. Still cold up across North Dakota. Well, that's a penguin friend of mine. If you can find a lake up there, it's probably kind of cold, especially real up north, up near Canada. 34 degrees will be the high today in Minneapolis. You're going to see temperatures like that for the next day or two. Then they're going to be dropping as Super Bowl weekend gets underway on CBS. Did I mention it's on CBS? Up in the New England area, that's where you're going to see maybe some of the coldest air today. You'll see a flurry or 2, nothing really to talk about. The nation is getting a little bit warmer, moderating we call that. I wouldn't run out and hop on the Bermuda shorts or anything, but it is moderating. You're going to see a little rain activity down through Texas today. Some places may see an inch or 2, and 52 will be the high today in San Angelo. As you get further to the west, this little front that you see coming across portions of Idaho, Montana, Oregon is actually a good front. It's going to start stirring up some of that air. The air has been rather stagnant out there. They were seeding the air around Salt Lake City yesterday, a couple days ago, and so that will be sort of mixing that up, also knocking out some of that fog in the valleys in California. 70 will be the high today in Los Angeles, 50 in Sacramento, and you may see a little rain and mountain snow up across the northwest. That's a quick look at the national forecast. Let's take a look at your weather.
Big warm-up in the weather today. We could get close to tying our record high of 55 set back in 1964, as today will be in the low to mid-50s, perhaps upper 50s across the south, 40s in the north today. In Des Moines, let's call it 55 by later this afternoon.
The wake-up call with the Bills in mind. Next time. Harry?
All right, thanks, Mark. In Maryland today, President Bush announces a funding increase of more than $500 million for the Head Start program. Head Start is aimed at helping preschoolers with everything from tutoring to nutritious meals. And joining us from Washington this morning is the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Dr. Louis Sullivan. Dr. Sullivan, good morning.
Good morning, Harry.
How come now?
There's really been, since the beginning of President Bush's term, an effort to expand the Head Start program. And in fact, last year, the president asked for the largest increase in Head Start in the 26-year history of the program. That was a $500 million increase last year, a $250 million increase the year before. In fact, the Head Start program, since President Bush came into office, has increased by almost $1 billion. So we've been committed to this program since the beginning.
Critics say, though, that even with the new $500 million that's coming in, that Head Start is still underfunded, maybe by as much as half. Why not fully fund it?
The president committed himself in 1988 during the campaign to work to see that every child would have at least a year of Head Start experience before beginning school, every 4-year-old. And we've been working to reach that goal. We now are serving approximately 60% of the 4-year-old children. This will bring us even closer to that goal of 100% of all income-eligible 4-year-old children. We have made tremendous expansions in this program, more than any other president in history. There's always room to do more. And certainly the President is committed to doing everything we can. But the thing to emphasize is that this President has done more than any other president. That's the important thing.
Is the idea, though, that ultimately you'll fund Head Start for 3-year-olds and 5-year-olds, or only for 4-year-olds?
The goal now is to focus on 4-year-olds. I think once we reach that goal, then we can assess where we are and determine what new initiatives should be undertaken. The President has kept his commitment to the American people. We're working towards the experience for all income-eligible 4-year-olds, and we are making significant progress towards that. We will have more than 300,000 additional children in the Head Start program who are not being served before. That's the important thing, the difference this will make in their lives and in their future role as leaders in our country.
As long as we have you here, let's talk about another subject or two, if you don't mind, including the President's State of the Union address. Would you care to give us a little preview of the President's health care plans for that most important speech?
Well, the President, of course, will be outlining his approach in his speech, but certainly the approach has several principles that we are addressing. First, to see that every American has access to health insurance. Secondly, to see that the cost escalation in our healthcare system that is not sustainable at its present high rate, that we bring those costs under control. And thirdly, that we preserve and enhance the quality in our nation's healthcare system. That's often overlooked, the fact that we have the most advanced healthcare system in the world, the most innovations, the most medical discoveries, the most advanced technology, the most highly trained personnel, quality assurance programs in our healthcare system. Our drug approval process is a gold standard of the world. These and other advantages we want to enhance and not lose if by going to a radical system that some would advocate. Other systems in other countries do not have these advantages. We want to build on them so that when we have universal access, it'll be to the top quality system that we presently have.
Dr. Louis Sullivan, we thank you for joining us this morning. Do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Paula?
We're looking at 15 minutes past the hour. Coming up next, our economics correspondent Robert Krulwich goes in search of the elusive peace dividend. And stay with us in our next half hour when our consumer correspondent Hattie Kaufman takes a close look inside that can of tuna fish. And why are some doctors continuing to perform breast implants despite government safety warnings? And later on this morning, Dr. Bob Arnott on the latest controversy over the sleeping pill Halcyon.
Scott Troutman talks about the all-weather consistency of timed-release Microtech herbicide.
I can't afford to take a chance, so I want something that's going to work in all kinds of weather conditions.
So how about control, Scott?
The spring to the fall, the Microtech has worked. It has controlled our weeds.
Encapsulated, timed-release Microtech. Works in any weather. Just ask Scott.
It's given full season control, and that's what I expect of a herbicide.
Relax. Choose Medicap Pharmacy. Patient care is our trademark. And as we grow across America, so do the savings. And we're in great shape to share the savings with those we care about most, our customers. So exercise your right to Medicap's hometown service and low prices. You'll get all the care, all the savings, all in one place.
Over the past 7 years, Iowa Realty's Homebuyer's Guide has become Des Moines' premier real estate showcase. And while Des Moines has grown, Homebuyer's Guide has grown too. And now, with more than 200 open houses every Sunday, Iowa Realty will feature 125 of these homes in an expanded 1-hour Homebuyer's Guide. We'll take a closer look at Des Moines' continued growth, current financing, plus a new segment on banking and financial services for homebuyers. Start your Sundays here on KCCI at 9:30 with Iowa Realty and Homebuyer's Guide.
Direct from Broadway and the heart of rock and roll comes Buddy, the Buddy Holly story, the sensational hit musical that's raising the roof in London, Australia, and now in theaters across America. The star that had them cheering, the songs that had them bopping, the story that went down in history. Come down for the wildest night out since 1959.
KCCI TV8 and KIOA Radio welcome Buddy to the Civic Center February 4th through 6th. Call and charge your tickets today.
17 minutes after the hour right now. This morning we are inaugurating a series that we hope to run all through this political year with our economics correspondent, Robert Krulwich. Tell us about it, Robert.
Well, whenever we notice politicians trying to slide one by us, not telling us the whole truth about something, we are going to gather together this year, stop and say, not so fast, not so fast. This is our voter's guide for 1992. For example, next week the president will propose major new cuts in the defense budget. No doubt leading Democrats will say those cuts should be even bigger. Both sides are trying to leave you with the impression that big cuts in defense will free up billions of dollars right away this year for schools and tax cuts, whatever. For example, I could imagine a political ad that goes something like this.
With the Cold War finally won, we can afford a peace dividend. A peace dividend. This year, now, when we need it. Paid for by so-and-so for President Lee Lockman, Treasurer. Not so fast. There are two words on your screen now that are just a little too slippery. Not peace dividend, but the words this year.
I'd say don't go rushing straight to the bank to withdraw your peace dividend. There's not going to be a lot there for a long time. If you want to cut a nuclear aircraft carrier, for example, well, maybe that's $3.5–4 billion worth of budget, but it takes you 6 years to build the aircraft carrier. So that carrier gets built over a 6-year period. In the first year, you only use 3% of the money because most of what you're doing is going out and buying materials and building a bay to start laying the keel. It doesn't cost you an awful lot of money to do that.
So if you cancel an aircraft carrier, what you're really doing is canceling plans to spend a tiny bit of money this year, a little bit more next year, and then hundreds of millions of dollars in 1994 and 1995 when the carrier would actually have been constructed. So yes, eventually you will save $4 billion. But because military hardware, and all kinds of military hardware, is built over time, you don't get these savings early.
So if you cut hardware programs and expect to get a lot of money up front, you're fooling yourself. It's not going to happen very quickly.
But wait, there is another way to get a peace dividend quickly. There are politicians who imply, now they would never say this out loud, but they do imply that we could get our peace dividend very fast if we make certain manpower adjustments.
During the Cold War, we needed millions of men and women in uniform. They did their part, and now their job's done. We're ready for a new defense team. Smarter, tougher, fewer. With fewer fighters, we can save billions. Not so fast. The only way to save billions is to have many, many, many fewer fighters.
The problem is you have to let an awful lot of people go. Your average division costs around $2 billion a year. That's 40,000 people. In order to get $9 or $10 billion worth of spending, you're going to have to kill 5 divisions. We only have 18 in the Army. What you're going to do if you try to kill 5 divisions in 1 year is create planning mayhem for the services and put a lot of people in the street in the middle of a recession. Not a smart way to go.
So the bottom line then is, the only way you're going to get billions and billions of dollars this year is to fire half the Navy, half the Army, and half the Marines, which no one, of course, is going to do. So there's really no way, whatever the politicians may tell you, that defense cuts are going to, A, give you a huge dividend right now, or B, therefore, have any real effect on the economic situation. If you think that, you should immediately think, not so fast.
So when will we see any real savings from military cuts?
They'll come, I would guess, in 3 or 4 years, and they'll get very, very big, I would suspect. So they'll be real. They're just not now.
And what kind of money are we talking about that many years
Well, that's to be resolved later this week. The Republicans next week will suggest something like $50 billion extra in cuts. The Democrats this week will suggest maybe $100 billion extra in cuts. There will always be a few people in Congress who will say $200 billion in cuts or whatever. But that's the debate that's about to get underway.
Robert Krulwich, thanks.
Okay.
Harry?
Not so fast. 22 minutes after the hour. Be here in our next half hour for the star of Beverly Hills 90210, Luke Perry.
This is it.
Your last chance to get 2.9% financing for 48 months on all 91 and 92 Escorts. Hurry, it's your last chance to get this limited time special offer from your Ford dealer. Choose the sporty GT, the spacious wagon, the sleek LX, even the new 92 Escort sedan. 2.9 financing for 48 months on any new Escort. You can't beat the savings. Now is the time to buy. See your local Ford dealer because this is your last chance.